So if your TikTok For You page is anything like mine, absolutely vile, then you may have seen something like this kind of floating around. This is a production of the musical Hamilton, done by the Door McAllen Church in Texas. Illegally. If you don't know, to do a production of a musical, you must buy the rights to it, usually through a company called MTI, but there are a lot of others. Hamilton, being the biggest Broadway musical the 21st century has seen, has not released their rights for somewhat obvious reasons. The first being that it's quite a big moneymaker for Broadway, and the second being that it's really protective of its image. Hamilton wants to look really good, great even. And now the internet is no stranger to illegal productions of shows. Look at Illegal Heathers and Legally Blonde, and a lot of churches end up doing musicals as sermons a lot of the time, usually creating an original one based on an already existing intellectual property.
Who is your director? Some shows you love are not shows you should do.
And usually these illegal versions of shows just come and go, and they're rarely acknowledged by the show's creators, but there's something a little different about Illegal Hamilton.
Grateful to all of you who reached out about this illegal, unauthorized production. Now, lawyers do their work. And always grateful to the Dramatists Guild, who have the backs of writers everywhere, be it your first play or your 50th.
So what's different about this version of Hamilton, other than it being god-awful and really hard to watch? Well, there's something strange about Illegal Hamilton. Let's dive into it, shall we?
I'd like to welcome you to our exhibition of Hamilton. Before we commence, I'd like to make a few proclamations.
The show begins with King George giving a pre-show announcement from his phone on stage for some reason. Not to get ahead of myself here, but I'm very terrified of this man. He has a really threatening aura about him, and I'm very scared that he's going to yell at me on the street and follow me. Anyway, let's jump into Act 1.
Lastly, please silence your phones at this time. And unfortunately, because we are recording this and it is being live streamed, we do not allow flash photography.
Outlaw scoundrel, orphan, son of a harlot.
Okay, I'm gonna rip off the Band-Aid really quick here before we get too far into this. They have censored every lyric of this show that has any sort of profanity or anything slightly non-Christian. I know a lot of high schools will censor bad words and such, but I feel like with Hamilton, it feels particularly taboo to me. And also, some of the ways they've changed the lyrics are so corny. I mean, changing the lyrics son of a whore to son of a harlot is so old-timey and whimsical, and it changes the first rhyme of a hip-hop musical. Here are a couple of my favorite examples of censorship throughout the show.
I am Hercules Mulligan, up in 11 in triple spine for the government.
Hey.
Like up your secrets and horses. Of course, it's hard to keep them from me when I'm coming for your sources.
He seems to thrive when so few survive. Gosh darn it, I'm willing to wait for it. I was in Paris so long, my mind's hazy. I guess I basically missed the late 80s.
Sitting there useless, my shoe fits. Hey, turn around, it's over, or I will leave your mouth toothless.
Hercules Mulligan, I need no introduction with enough beats, and I'll put myself back up.
Oh, Southern Democratic Republicans.
Okay, they didn't even try with that last one. Censoring the show is not the worst offense that this production does, but we'll get to that a little later.
And the world's gonna know your name. What's your name?
Alexander Hamilton. My name is Alexander Hamilton.
It was in this first number when I realized they cut a lot of the harmonies from the entire show, and this is consistent throughout both acts.
Never back down, you never learn to take your time.
It's sort of like watching your little cousin in Beauty and the Beast Jr. and hearing them scream dressed as some irrelevant knickknack, like, I don't know, a fork or something, in unison with a bunch of other snotty-nosed little kids. It's just hard to listen to.
1776.
We then make our way to the song Aaron Burr, Sir, and it's at this point when you start to question, why were these two cast as the leads of this show? They both seem really uninterested in the material that they're performing. I'm getting very little energy from particularly Aaron Burr, who is supposed to be stoic towards the beginning of this number, but really just seems bored throughout the whole time.
So run the mouse off, wind up dead.
More like More like Aaron Schur, Aaron Schur, am I right?
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot.
Did they choose this guy to play Hamilton because he sounds the most like Lin-Manuel Miranda? Or is he doing an impression? No hate to Lin here, it's just that I don't like the way his voice sounds.
I am the A-L-E-X-A-N-D-E-R. We are meant to be a colony that runs independently.
On top of that, Lin-Manuel Miranda kind of sells his performance as Hamilton through his charisma and charm, where this guy just kind of stands and raps all of his lines and looks really bored while he's doing it.
See, I never thought I'd live past 20. Where I come from, some get half as many.
So after my shot, Hamilton and his 3 new friends go to the bar and share drinks and stories and talk about their future. They talk about how they'll overcome all adversity and fight for the nation they truly believe can be independent. It's in this song we really build on these 4's relationship. We start to see how these 3 people will shape Hamilton into who he is then and who he will be in the distant future. And that's why they decided to cut it entirely from the show. Yes, they cut the story of tonight and have replaced it with nothing. We instead jump straight to Schuyler Sisters, where we get to meet
Eliza and Peggy. The Schuyler Sisters. Angelica, Peggy, Eliza.
Okay, that's fine. Well, something significant about this one is that they did some of the original choreography from the original show.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
You see, Illegal Hamilton's choreography is so interesting because at one point they'll be copying the original choreography, which sure is frowned upon in the theater community, but hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then immediately afterwards, they'll be dancing around like rag dolls, rapidly thrusting themselves at each other. So that's really cool. So we've met Eliza and Angelica, our 2 very unfortunately unlovable love interests. Where to next? Oh, I see they cut Farmer Refuted. All right then. I don't want to say anything cringe. Don't want to say anything I'll regret. Don't want to be not based. King George only has 3 songs in the entire show, but very easily will steal the show. Jonathan Groff set a very high standard for this entire role, and I'm not expecting this King George to be anything like that. I'm not expecting that at all. As long as he just remembers his lines, I'll be thrilled.
Oceans rise, empires fall. It's much harder when it's on your gone. Send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love. Da 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 da.
All right, no, really? This guy has the easiest job in the entire cast. He doesn't have to dance. He doesn't have to sing any of the songs except for these 3, and he forgot his lyrics, and he's chewing gum on stage. Dude, what are you doing? Not to mention that this guy just looks older than everyone else. He's like 50, and there are kids in this cast who look like they're like 13 years old. Why are they in the same show? God, okay. Let's move on from that guy. I don't want to see his face anymore.
I will kill your friends and family.
Moving on, we get to meet George Washington, introduced with some of the most stellar choreography I've ever seen in my life.
George Washington! We are outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, outplanned.
Something about George Washington, the way he acts on stage, makes me feel like he thinks he's just a better actor than everybody else. It may be that I think he looks like Joe Rogan, but I'm not sure if that's just it. And sure, Right Hand Man is the best number we've seen in the entire show, but he's just so smug about it.
I cannot be everywhere at once, people. I'm in dire need of assistance.
And of course, it doesn't make up for the crimes he's going to commit later in the show, but he's just... I feel like he's about to tell me to walk it off in PE class, you know? Also, Aaron Burr introduces himself to Washington in this scene, and he sounds like he's on the verge of tears through every single line. He's just terrified. And honestly, I would too.
Your Excellency, sir.
Who are you?
Aaron Burr, Sir, permission to state my case.
As you were.
Sir.
Next, there's a short little number that introduces the context of the song Helpless, A Winter's Ball, and there's a little joke in this song about how all the men are really good with ladies and how they want to have sex with all of them, and the church cut this entire section of the song because God does not want you to have sex or even think about it. Alright, let's move on. Helpless is a sweet little number sung by Hamilton's soon-to-be wife Eliza, and I mentioned earlier that they've censored quite a bit of this show, which is why I find it very interesting that they kept this joke in.
You laughing at my sister cause she wants to form a harem. I'm just saying if you really love me, you would share 'em. Ha!
Isn't polygamy frowned upon in Christianity? Why didn't they cut this joke? I find it even more interesting when you think about the fact that they cut the plot line that Angelica and Hamilton are still very much in love, despite the fact that Hamilton and Eliza, her sister, end up getting married. We still get the song Satisfied, which covers this briefly, but after that it's never addressed again. They put in some effort in cutting out the concepts of polygamy and being unfaithful from your wife from this aspect of the show, but they still kept in that harem joke, which is really strange to me. I don't have any problems with it. I'm just saying if you're gonna censor Hamilton, at the very least be consistent with it. Could they not find a rhyme for harem? Is that what was so hard about it? If you can't already tell, there's a lot of gray area surrounding what Illegal Hamilton censors for not falling within their Christian values, and I'll definitely get more into this in the second act.
Command a dollop of fame, all I have my honor, a tolerance for pain, a couple of college credits in my top-notch brain.
Anyway, Satisfied happens as well and is very uncomfortable and pointless, and as I said, this is one of the only times we really see Angelica in the show, and if we do, it's never implied that she's still in love with Hamilton or vice versa.
Satisfied.
And another little pedantic thing about Satisfied is that Angelica's mic is so hot. Every time she holds out a note for more than 1 second, it just peaks.
And her eyes are just the bride from your sister. Love him, she'd be silently resigned. He'd be mine. She would say I'm fine, she'd be lying.
She also has some of the worst diction that I've heard throughout the show.
So this is what it feels like. Match with someone at your level with the hooks to catch it.
Since we cut the story of tonight, obviously we don't get the reprise, which sends us straight to Wait For It, which I think is one of the best songs in the entire show. It serves as the villain song for Burr, and rather than acting like a normal villain song where it describes who they are and what their devious plans are, this song also serves as an I Want song. An I Want song in a musical is where a character, usually our protagonist, sings about their past and what they want, and it usually serves as a catalyst for their actions throughout the musical. Hamilton's I Want song is My Shot, while Burr's I Want song is Wait For It. Seeing this glimpse into Burr and how he envies Hamilton for his ability to prove himself and succeed when Burr himself seems to fail no matter what is really interesting. This song is deeply tragic for Burr and shows that he's willing to wait for the answer of why he's failing no matter what, when we as the audience know that he's never going to get this answer. He is the one thing in life he can control, he says, and he actively wants more control. More control over people, more control over government, more control over history. This number isn't cut from this rendition, but I do wonder whether or not the actor playing Burr knows this going into it. He sort of mumbles his way through it and doesn't have a lot of passion behind his voice. I've seen a lot of praise on the internet for this kid, and honestly, his voice isn't half bad. I just feel like he was kind of left out to dry by the directors quite a bit. I mean, Burr is a really hard role to act, and I feel like they didn't help him kind of grasp the character as well as he could have. And to me, it feels like more the director's fault than his, and so for that, I can't blame him entirely.
Wait for it. I am the one thing that I can control. I am an inner boy, I am an original.
I think this kid is pretty good, but honestly, I just don't think this is the role for him. And maybe in 20 more years he could pull this off, but for now, he's just clearly a 17-year-old kid, right? He also keeps throwing in the word others in the chorus, which just makes it so much harder on himself.
All of we break and we make our mistakes, and if there's a reason I'm still alive when so many others have died, I'm willing to wait for it.
Like, no one pointed that out to him. I feel like that proves even more that none of the directors cared enough during the rehearsal process. Illegal Hamilton decides to cut 2 numbers this time, and these being Stay Alive and the 10 Dual Commandments, because why not? We cut to Meet Me Inside, where Joe Rogan decides to lecture Hamilton on why vaccines are brain control. You know, I've mentioned a lot about how boring I find this Hamilton, but some unfiltered Christian rage just comes out of him when he tells Washington to stop calling him son. Just watch.
Son, I need you.
Call me son one more time!
Like, how did that come out of him? I guess we'll never know. The next song shows Eliza consoling Hamilton after he's been sent home from war, and I'm just gonna let this lyric speak for itself.
But I'm not afraid. My hope is in Jesus. If you could just give him a chance today, that would be enough.
Oh, illegal Hamilton, you bring forth such gems. Because it is a church doing this production of Hamilton, it seems at this point they've decided to just add a little pinch of preachiness. However, Hamilton does not respond to this line the way you might expect him to. In fact, he's quite angry at Eliza and walks away and says this.
Eliza, God is not who I need right now. I'm fine on my own.
Funnily enough, this is similar to how Hamilton acts in the real show. And yeah, Hamilton is fine on his own without religion in the real show. But in this version, that's portrayed as a negative thing and not just another facet of his character. They even added that line where he dismisses everything Eliza just said because she name-dropped Jesus. This also changes Eliza's song, where she pours her heart out to Hamilton that she just wants him to stay home from war so she can meet the child that she's pregnant with. Rather than saying she knows who she married, she says that her hope is in Jesus, who is not a character in the show. Do you see what I mean by preachy?
Oh, let him be a part of the narrative in the story they will write someday.
We've now established that Hamilton is a God-hating atheist. What's next?
Give it up for America's favorite fighting Frenchman! I'm taking this horse by the reins, making red coats redder with blood stains.
You know, the show does not cease to surprise me. Lafayette does a pretty good job with the beginning of Guns and Ships, and he does it completely in the dark. Come on, the tech crew couldn't just light the stage all the way. Like, did somebody fall asleep behind the lighting booth? We then get to have some amazing vocals from George Washington himself.
Never be the same, Alexander.
You see that? You see that? You see that right there? You see that? Chills. Washington surprised me quite a bit at first. He's one of the more compelling performers on stage. Acting-wise, he's not amazing, but honestly, he's more charismatic than anyone else, and he's really fun to watch. But unfortunately, that does not save him from some really embarrassing vocal moments.
History has its eyes on you.
The climax of Act 1 starts off with, again, some really beautiful choreography. And look, it seems that Hamilton has learned how to do the act of ventriloquism.
Every covenant I'm running with the sons of liberty, and I'm loving it. See, that's what happens when he up against the ruffians.
You know, not for nothing, the Hercules Mulligan is actually kind of putting a little something into that rap. And I really appreciate it after watching some really boring rap performances throughout the rest of the show. I hope we get to see more of him when they obviously double cast him as James Madison, right? Oh, listen, I'm sorry if I'm going too hard on the ensemble. It's just that it doesn't even look that hard, and they're just slopping it up there. Also, Hamilton's choreo is rather hip-hop inspired, at least on Broadway, and they're literally doing color guard with the rifles during the Battle of Yorktown.
We lower our guns as he frantically waves a white handkerchief.
Anyway, after the war is won, we get to see Jesus! Stop creeping up on me like that. Okay, he, at the very least, remembers his lyrics for this one, although he does change the melody quite a bit.
Even despite our estrangement, I've got a smoke weedy for you.
God, I don't know how much more King George I can handle, honestly. And here's the thing. They cut the third song from the show entirely. So that's it. All he had to do was 2 songs, and he couldn't even remember the words to the first one. and he had to read his pre-show monologue off of his phone. Do you see why I hate this guy so much?
Take care of your children.
I'm going to say that King George being bad is my third least favorite part of the show. The other two will be pretty self-explanatory later.
Awesome. Wow. Do you have this guy stinks?
They cut Dear Theodosia, a really touching number about being a new father, and I don't know why, but I don't like it. They also cut the song where John Lawrence dies, but that's not on the soundtrack, and they probably didn't do any research, so why would they have it anyway? Instead, we go to Non-Stop, which is a song that already feels quite long, but feels a lot longer when you strip any redeeming qualities from it.
Out of time, every day and night, like you're running out of time. Every day you fight, like you're running out of time.
There's a monologue in this number by Burr explaining how Hamilton wrote 51 of the Federalist Papers, and he sounds again like he's going to cry, and I don't know why. Who hurt this boy?
And Hamilton wrote the other 51. How do you write like you're running out of time?
One of my favorite moments of this version of Non-Stop is when Washington's mic stops working, which is probably for the best.
Stay, Treasury or stay. Sir, do you want me to run the Treasury or State Department?
Non-Stop, again, is just such a huge ensemble number, but at this point in the show, I feel like the cast of Illegal Hamilton has just run out of fuel, so we just get this loud cacophony of screaming and trying to get to intermission so they can have a little drink of water.
History has its
Also, I believe everyone is on stage for this number, but I wouldn't be able to tell you because all I can see is Hamilton at the center spot. Everything else is just pitch black. I'm starting to think that the tech crew is just sort of improvising the lights, which if they are, they're doing a really good job at it, but that just makes me feel like their tech rehearsal was really rushed, and I just am concerned for their well-being. Well, that brings us to the end of Act 1, and before we go into Act 2, I'd like to just kind of reconcile and think about what we've seen. Sure, there's been plenty of lyric changes, and some of them even changed the entire themes of the show, but we haven't at its core destroyed what Hamilton is. Yet. Anyway, with that little vague and confusing side tangent out of the way, what better to do than jump in to Act 2?
17. You haven't met him yet, you haven't had the chance, cause he's been throwing hands with the ambassador of France.
Okay, so far none of the censorship has really affected the meaning of the lines. Besides the Jesus line, everything's been fairly tame, but this implies that Thomas Jefferson's been fighting the ambassador to France. Thomas Jefferson has been fighting the ambassador to France. Fighting the ambassador. Does anyone see a problem with that? Similarly to the Broadway production, the person playing Thomas Jefferson is also the person who played Lafayette.
What did I miss?
At the very least, he's trying. I can always give a pass to this sort of performing because at the very least it's obvious that he likes the material and is just trying to put his own spin on it, despite some pretty major pitch issues.
I traveled the wide, wide world and came back to this.
What did I miss? Oh!
I thought now might be a good time to talk about the costumes they wear in this show. For the most part, they're not horrible, although a lot of them end up wearing glossy rain boots, which is certainly a fashion choice one could decide to make. Thomas Jefferson's is an interesting example because it just looks so sloppy, like they just took it right out of the bag. You can see it has wrinkles and folds that were clearly folded up into a tight plastic bag or something.
And I'm already sending it approved. Just got home and now I'm headed up to New York. Mr. Jefferson, welcome home.
Anyway, in What Did I Miss, you get to see Thomas Jefferson interacting with James Madison, who is usually played by the same actor who plays Hercules Mulligan, except in this version they recast James Madison to be someone different, which is really strange, and I'm just left wondering, who is this guy? Why did they recast him? And also, Hercules Mulligan is just in the ensemble of Act 2. He's clearly available, so why didn't they just use him? Why did he get screwed over? It's so strange. It's not like one of these roles is harder than the other role. It's just a pointless recasting. Okay, maybe he's really good, and they just wanted to give him a chance to shine.
Hamilton's new financial plan is nothing less than government control.
The one and only cabinet battle in Illegal Hamilton is next, and what a snooze fest. I mean, it's really hard to get invested in this conflict when you can't understand half the words they're saying.
Look, when Brent tax our tea, we got frisky. Imagine what's gonna happen when you try to tax our whiskey.
The Hamilton is just crossing his arms and saying, "Not true."
Sid, not true.
Ooh, if the shoe fits, wear it.
Sitting there useless, my shoe fits. Hey, turn around, it's over, or I will leave your mouth toothless.
Take a Break is the next number, where they've entirely cut the subplot that Angelica and Hamilton are exchanging letters and implying that they're in love with each other. Hamilton is left alone to do the worst thing a Christian person can do: sin. The song Say No to This introduces the biggest conflict of Act 2 and potentially the whole show. We see a sleep-deprived, stressed Hamilton riding alone at night when he encounters a woman named Mariah Reynolds, who ends up seducing him, leading Hamilton to cheat on his wife. Later in the number, Hamilton gets a letter from a man who claims to be Mariah Reynolds' husband, saying that he must pay him thousands of dollars to keep this secret safe with him. Hamilton does this to keep this whole ordeal from his wife and the public. Hamilton's morals are very much put into question in this song, and it's very important for that reason and for later in the act. Knowing that bit of information, you may be surprised to hear that they didn't cut Say No to This from their production of the show. In fact, Hamilton still cheats on his wife. Kind of. You see, I said there's a lot that happens in Say No to This, which is true, but the church version ends up cutting almost all of this and just leaving the first verse and chorus. And we don't see them kiss or anything like that. We just see the vague implication of sex.
And my mind is trying to go, but her hand is on mine, and I don't say no.
Say no to this. No!
Something of note here is that the woman playing Mariah Reynolds is actually the same woman who plays Eliza earlier in the show. In the actual version of the show, the woman who plays Peggy, one of the Schuyler sisters, is double cast as Mariah Reynolds as well. But for some reason, they just had Eliza do it in a wig, which means she has to run off stage and do a quick change just so they can keep the same two actors as romantic interests. What is this show? I think that they made the right choice in keeping this number in the show, but I think by cutting it down so much, we fundamentally are missing a lot that happens in this song and how it affects the rest of the show. You see, at the end of Say No to This, we see Hamilton filled with guilt and anger as he confronts Mariah Reynolds. Mariah Reynolds pleads with him and sings that she is helpless, a little nod to Eliza's song from earlier in the show. She also tells him that if he pays off her husband, he can both protect his image and stay with her. This leads the audience to directly view Hamilton making the decision to continue cheating on his wife and protect his image. It's a really corrupt decision that Hamilton makes, and it's really interesting and influences the rest of the show. However, in Illegal Hamilton, we really just see it happen the once, and yeah, we know he feels guilt because all Christian people feel guilt, if you know what I mean. But we never really see it being a regular occurrence or that he's actively making decisions to keep it going and to pay it off. This is going to make the show feel more confusing to an audience that has never seen Hamilton before.
Nobody needs to know.
This, to me, really changes Hamilton as a character and leads to it not justifying him publishing the Reynolds pamphlet. It really confuses me why they would keep this number in, but really lessen the stakes of it, and it removes the highest stakes conflict of the entire show. It changes the meaning of numbers like we know, because as an audience, we are learning about a conflict that wasn't established earlier in the show. It takes away any of the dramatic irony from the whole situation as Thomas Jefferson, Madison, and Burr learn about this whole thing. We didn't know that Hamilton was paying off her husband, so it really changes the dynamic of that number. It also changes a number like Burn, where we see Eliza burning all the letters that Hamilton wrote to her when they were younger. It really just throws off the whole second act by not knowing this key piece of information.
No,
Speaking of cutting songs that will change the motivation of entire characters, they cut the song The Room Where It Happens, which if you're familiar with the show, you know that this sends Burr down his villain arc. This song is such an important song for not just Burr, but the whole plot of the show. It shows Hamilton becoming a more manipulative person and trying to get Jefferson and Madison to let him go through with his financial plan by letting them choose the nation's capital. The way the story of this song is told from an outsider's perspective who just wants to have any control and power is brilliant, and it leaves us, the audience, with the same perspective as Burr, wanting to know really what happened in this room. And that's the name of the song. Lovely. It's the next day. Me and my friend Kim, who's helping me with sound, our brains broke from Hamilton. So we're back the next day. This number goes hand in hand with the number Wait For It, where we get to see Burr envying Hamilton for his ability to be in the room and have a say in one of the biggest decisions in early American history. Also on top of that, Leslie Odom Jr. is just such a powerhouse of a performer as Burr, and watching his character spiral into such a frenzy with this insane choreo and vocals just makes it one of my favorite numbers in the whole show. The only reason I can think that they cut this number is because it's just kind of hard. There's a lot of moving parts and different dialogue and a lot of call and response from the ensemble, but this song functions in the show for so many reasons. I mean, it resolves the first cabinet battle, it shows Hamilton becoming a more and more manipulative person, and it also sends Burr down the spiral that will eventually lead him to duel and kill Hamilton. Not only that, but they cut Schuyler defeated, which shows Burr's willingness to be manipulative as well, and they also cut the second cabinet battle. We instead go to Washington on Your Side, which is actually a number I really enjoy, but surprise, surprise, it's really uncomfortable and hard to watch.
To have Washington on your side, look back at the Bill of Rights, which I wrote. The ink hasn't dried.
Something interesting about this number is that Jefferson again decides to put his own little spin on it, and he raps most of the fast part in time, but then just sort of gives up at the end.
I'm in the cabinet, I ain't complicit in watching him grabbing the power and kissing it. Washington isn't gonna listen to discipline, this is the difference. This kid is out. Oh!
I also really, if I didn't know this show, don't think that I would understand a lot of what was going on because they're having a lot of diction issues.
Oh! The civic keeping us all on our toes.
Also, I feel like I'm hearing somebody, I think it's Burr, just throwing in a little snippet of a harmony, but then pulling back because they're scared.
It must be nice, it must be nice to have Washington on your side.
Sir,
I want to give you a word of warning.
sir, I don't know what you heard, but whatever it is, Jefferson started it.
God, every time Hamilton makes a joke, he throws in this cheeky little smile at the end. I assume to let us know that he's joking, but I really can't tell. Washington, thank God, decides to retire in this number, so we get his final song one last time, where it definitely is his worst vocal performance throughout the whole time, and I assume maybe it's because his voice is just tired, but he ends up just kind of copping out half of the lines and just singing it down the octave. And I think what makes this number so heartbreaking is that he thinks he's absolutely killing it. He keeps looking off into the distance and closing his eyes as he belts out these notes, but it just ends up sounding like this.
One last time, you and I want to sit under my own vine and fig tree at home in this nation we've made.
Also, Hamilton and Washington both seem to forget the lines of Washington's farewell address, which is really impressive because Hamilton has it on a sheet of paper in front of him, but it seems like they're both trying to find where they are constantly.
My administration, I am unconscious of intentional error. I also carry myself with the hope my country will view them with indulgence. An upright view in which I promise myself to realize the sweet enjoyment of partaking.
Like I previously mentioned, they cut the third King George song, and the Adams administration is cut into just an intro, so really we just move on to the number we know. This is the number where Jefferson, Madison, and Burr confront Hamilton on why he paid thousands of dollars to a man named James Reynolds.
If I can prove that I never touched my balls.
Oh, sorry, that's the wrong clip. This number, again, is really confusing when you cut almost all of Say No to this. I mean, we're learning all of this information as the characters are, so the stakes aren't as high. They decided to cut the song Hurricane, which I'll be honest, isn't one of my favorite songs in the show, but I feel like it'd be foolish of me to not mention how important it is. This song introduces us to more of Hamilton's early life, where we get his perspective of how he wrote his way out. This song is really important to Hamilton's character because we get a new insight as to why writing is so important to him. To him, it is the only thing that he can do. He wrote a poem which got him sent to New York from his hometown. He wrote letters to entice Eliza, and he wrote essays to defend the Constitution. So what did he do when he was backed into yet again another corner? He wrote the Reynolds pamphlet. So you may be asking, why did they cut this song if it's so crucial to the show?
When my prayers to God were met with indifference, I picked up a pen, I wrote my own deliverance.
Oh, because Hamilton doesn't have the same religious beliefs as the directors, they decided to cut it entirely from the show. This, again, just weakens the entire show. This is such a moment of insight for the audience to see how Hamilton's brain functions, but because he didn't share the same religious beliefs as the directors, they just cut it entirely. I feel like that alone is enough for people to be pissed off at this production and for it to get sued into the ground, but would you believe me if I said it still gets worse? The Reynolds pamphlet and Byrne show the publishing of said pamphlet and Eliza's reaction to the whole situation. I want to talk about Byrne particularly because I feel like it's another instance of the actors being really abandoned by their directors. Eliza falls sharp or flat on almost every single extended note in this song, which just makes my heart break for her.
How they perceive you.
And she's almost a whole half step sharp on the most important note of the whole song.
Memories of when you were mine.
They really just let her go up there and do that, right? Where is the musical director? Also, during this song, Eliza is burning all of the letters that Hamilton wrote to her, and there's a real fire like they did in the real show, but it gets really high, and I was just a little concerned that something would go wrong. This number is extra ironic when you realize that the woman who played Mariah Reynolds is just the woman who played Eliza in a black wig. I thought maybe they were going to retcon this whole thing and have some contrived reveal that Hamilton was never cheating on his wife after all, and it was all a test, but they never actually mentioned it. After Hamilton gets canceled, we end up seeing a much older Philip Hamilton get into a duel for his father. You know, honestly, the kid playing Philip Hamilton isn't that bad. His death is kind of heartbreaking. It's still just really sad, and I'm not sure if it's just really effective writing or this kid's performance or if it's both. Philip's death is another moment of sheer despair for Eliza in Act 2. And don't worry, she lets us know by doing her best impression of a monkey getting circumcised. Next is It's Quiet Uptown, which is one... Oh, who's that guy?
So glad I found you,
What is
sir.
going on? I'm sorry, this isn't in the actual
I'm
script.
so
What,
very sorry for your loss.
what is he saying? What? Is that a priest?
We all
What?
go through difficult
What is he
times
saying?
in life, and only God can help us pull through. God is the only one that can help you right now and give you an incomprehensible peace during this tragic time. You may be questioning the hand that was dealt to you with all this tragedy, but many times we play a role in what happens to us in this life. It may be that the circumstances you now face are the consequences of decisions made in the past.
What does that mean?
Pray with me, sir. Receive Jesus Christ in your heart right now. Do you not only confess, but repent of all your sin?
Yes.
Do you accept Him as your Lord and Savior?
Yes.
Heavenly Father, I pray for Alexander. I pray that you bring him peace of mind, that you would restore his family and his marriage. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen.
This scene left me feeling absolutely disgusting. Honestly, of course this didn't happen in real life, but to take the death of Philip Hamilton, who was a real person, might I add, and chalk it up to a punishment from God to punish Alexander Hamilton for his life of sin is just absolutely despicable to me. You can argue that this entire musical is a work of historical fiction. It is, of course, dramatized and exaggerated for the sake of the story, but to me, this just doesn't sit right. Hamilton was never saved by the church, which actually makes the show more interesting. Hamilton has to come to terms with what he's done and his entire life leading up to this point, and make amends with Eliza, his grieving wife, on his own. Adding this scene not only damages Hamilton as a character, but it damages Hamilton as a show. The theme of Hamilton is that despite not getting the best cards dealt to you in life, you can create a legacy doing what you love, even if you're a flawed individual. And Illegal Hamilton claims that you will be punished for the choices you make throughout life and that you only need God to save you. That is completely contradictory to what Hamilton believes, and he even says that when God neglected him, he wrote himself out of that situation, which is something that was also cut from Illegal Hamilton. In the next number, he does claim that he has started to pray regularly since the loss of his son, and in the show, this kind of implies that he's looking for healthy ways to grieve and get through the loss of his son. But in Illegal Hamilton, it becomes the only change that Hamilton really makes and the only important line in that song.
I take the children to church on Sunday and I pray. That never used to happen before.
Even though I've been goofing on this performance and how bad some of it is, I truly think this is the worst part of the whole show. And it really shows just how tone deaf the production is to think that they could get away with something like this. But there's still 30 minutes left. It probably can't get that much worse, right? Let's see how the rest of Illegal Hamilton plays out.
Look at where we are. Look at where we started.
Hamilton chooses Jefferson over Burr in the election of 1800, and Burr finally snaps, challenging Hamilton to a duel.
Here's the itemized list of 30 years of disagreement.
Sweet Jesus.
Taking the Lord's name in vain? Wow, that is scandalous. How dare you! The penultimate song in Hamilton is a song called The World Was Wide Enough, where we get to witness Aaron Burr kill Alexander Hamilton. Moments before he is killed, he recites his final monologue, which is done as this weird spoken word a cappella rap.
There is no beat, no melody.
It's one of the most interesting moments in the show because we're essentially seeing Hamilton's inner dialogue as a bullet is rapidly approaching him.
What is a legacy? It's knowing you repented and accepted the gospel of Jesus Christ that sets men free. You sent your sinless Son of Man on Calvary to die for me.
Yet another theme-shattering moment from Illegal Hamilton. You tricky minx, you. The original lyric here is that legacy is like planting a garden that you never see. But rather than giving you a lovely metaphor about the theme of the show, they jam their illegal theme down your throat. But hey, at least you get some really cool dancing.
He aims his pistol at the sky. Wait!
Hamilton then walks into heaven, right out of focus and into the part of the stage that they forgot to light.
I was too young and blind to see.
Burr cries a lot, and then we get to hear the perspective of all of Hamilton's friends, enemies, and mentors that he had made along the way. Eliza is the star of the final song, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. She talks about how she lived for another 50 years after Hamilton died and tried to do everything in his memory and do as much good as she could for the world.
I raise funds in D.C. for the Washington Monument.
She ends by singing about how she established the first private orphanage in New York City.
The orphanage. I introduce hundreds of children to Jesus as they're growing up.
Yikes. Yeah, and not only that, they also cut another lyric where she talks about how much she relied on Angelica.
I stay relying on my faith. Jesus gives me the strength to pull through. When I needed him most, he was right on time.
Yikes again. Yeah, so this number is essentially a conclusion of a show all about legacy, and they've done everything in their power to erase the actual legacy of Eliza and Alexander Hamilton.
The Lord in his kindness, he gives me what you've always wanted. He gives me more time.
Well, at least it's over now. Wait, why is Hamilton back?
Although my life was short-lived, God granted me the desires of my heart. He healed my wounds and gave me a fresh start. The world got rid of me. Men still foolishly praise me.
Men still foolishly praise him? I agree that we should not idolize our founding fathers because they are all horrible people and racist and all that, but Something tells me that's not why they're saying this, and also, why would you put this at the end of a show that is praising Hamilton for all of the good things he did as well, and even at the end of a song that more so says all of the good things he did and how much his story needs to be told? Isn't that just a little weird to you guys?
Will you live a life worthy of your kids to see? I know I did. And I give thanks to Jesus Christ who resides in me.
Oh, finally, it's over. We can all stand up and go, who is this guy?
If I can have only 5 minutes of your attention tonight.
Okay, so this is Victor Lopez. He's a pastor at this church, and he comes out to give quite the sermon, which is weird because I feel like I just watched a 2-hour sermon. He goes on to compare Alexander Hamilton to King David and make a number of other just really strange claims.
You know, when the play was going on, the part of the play that captivated me as I was watching it is when Hamilton goes with Mrs. Reynolds. He commits adultery. People found out, and we saw in the play that his life went downhill after that. For a lot of things went wrong in his life. His marriage suffered. His child was killed in a duel. A lot of things happened in his life politically. And just like David and Hamilton, God knows, listen to me, God knows what's going on in your life. You know, the life you now have is because of decisions you've done in the past.
So it's very clear that the theme of the show to them is that you made the sandwich, in that the choices that you've made throughout your life, you will be punished for them unless you find God, which is really gross and weird and has nothing to do with the actual theme of Hamilton, but we've been there before. He proceeds to offer help to people who are struggling with a number of things he thinks are issues.
He wants to help you tonight. He knows exactly what you've gone through. You've gone through maybe broken marriages. Maybe you struggle with alcohol, with drugs, homosexuality. Maybe you struggle with other things in life. God can help you tonight.
Yep, there we go. It's as if the ugly duckling revealed itself to not be actually a duckling, but in fact to be a bitch-ass hater. I know earlier I said that the worst part of Illegal Hamilton is when the pastor comes on to convert Hamilton, but what if I told you it's even worse when it's a real pastor? It's one thing to do an illegal production of Hamilton, and it's another thing to take all your political and religious views and to change the entire meaning of the show to adhere to them. The pastor leads the audience in a song and a prayer, which I gotta say, the song, not as good as the songs from Hamilton.
Praise God, amen. Let's sing this song, amen. Oh Lord, within me. Let's give God praise tonight in this place. We thank you, my God.
You can even see someone walking out at the end, and they're wearing a Hamilton shirt, and I started to feel really bad for the audience that showed up. I mean, imagine going, if you're a huge fan of Hamilton, or even if you've never heard of it in your life, and watching something that's just musical conversion therapy. The church that performed Illegal Hamilton is definitely getting sued into oblivion right now, and to that I say good. I don't think anybody should send any hate to any of the performers in Illegal Hamilton. That would be ungodly cringe and just not effective. And by the way, we don't know if any of these people are doing it because it's this hateful version of the show or because they just want to perform and they like Hamilton. Of course, some of the performances are really bad and cringe, but I don't think it's anything you wouldn't see in your local high school production of a show or any community theater. The people that should, and I assume are getting sued, are the people who directed the show and the church itself. And again, I think that that is a good thing. I'll end the video by saying this. It's not the bad performances or censoring the bad words out of the script that is getting this show sued. It is the fact that they have changed the core meaning and theme of this show and the demonizing of non-Christians and the LGBTQ community. If this were an earnest production of Hamilton with no ulterior motives, perhaps they wouldn't be in the position they're in. But in the words of my new favorite Hamilton character, the pastor, it may be that the circumstances you now face are the consequences of decisions made in the past. Okay, we're almost done here. While I was editing this video, the Dormick Allen Church actually made a statement about illegal Hamilton. So I figured we'd do a sort of live reaction to this whole thing so we can judge whether or not this statement is an actual apology or if it's really genuine. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Okay, so I have their apology pulled up here, which seems to have been made in a now deleted Instagram post. At least it is not up at the time that I am recording this, which is the 10th of September. On behalf of the Door Christian Fellowship McAllen Church, I would like to personally apologize to the creator of Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda, the producers of Hamilton, and the numerous others who contributed their intellectual property to Hamilton for staging an unauthorized production of Hamilton that infringed on the rights and copyrights of many. The Door Christian Fellowship McAllen Church did not ask for or receive a license from the producers or creators of Hamilton to produce, stage, replicate, or alter any part of Hamilton, nor did we seek prior permission to alter Lin-Manuel Miranda's work by changing the music, the lyrics, deleting songs, or adding dialogue. Okay, we already know that they didn't get permission to do any of this, so let's keep going. We respect the copyrights of Hamilton's... Oh, there's a typo. You see the typo right there? We respect the copyrights of Hamilton's author and contributors. These copyrights are protected by federal law. We acknowledge there are lawful avenues to obtain a license to stage properties which we did not pursue, and it is never permissible to alter an artistic work such as Hamilton without legal permission. I recognize as the pastor of the church that I have an obligation and responsibility to follow the law and educate our community about these protocols. Our ministry will use this moment as a learning opportunity about protected artistic works and intellectual property. So, they seem to be feigning ignorance on this whole situation, that they did not know you needed to get rights to perform someone else's work. This is obviously, to me, not true. Like, of course they knew you need to get the rights for a show to perform it. I find it interesting they haven't mentioned the pastor coming on during the show and after the show and the homophobia, but there's one more paragraph, so let us continue. On behalf of the Door Christian Fellowship McAllen... God, that's such a mouthful of a name. On behalf of the Door Christian Fellowship McAllen Church, we agree we will never stage the performance again, and will destroy any and all video or sound recordings and images of the unauthorized performances or rehearsals, and request that all of our members do the same. Lastly, we will pay damages for our actions. So the producers of Hamilton have said that all the money that they are going to get from this lawsuit will go towards a charity in support of the LGBTQ plus community. So that's a little awkward for them after what they've said. I'm sorry, I'm a bit at a loss of words. I didn't write a script for this part, so I'm just going to be a little off the cuff here. This is such a nothing apology. They didn't apologize for any of the hate that they spread through this, or really acknowledge why what they did was wrong. They feigned ignorance and said that they didn't know you needed to get the rights, which is obviously not true, and they haven't acknowledged any of the horrible things that they changed about it. This Instagram post is deleted, but it seems to be from the perspective of the pastor of the church. I don't know if it's the one who speaks at the end or a different guy. I find that this apology is really ineffective. But what were we expecting? Were we expecting them to all change their minds and hateful notions against the LGBTQ community? No, I did not expect that at all. Quite pessimistic of me, right? But honestly, at least they are paying the damages, I guess. But to me, I don't feel like that is enough. It doesn't seem like they are going bankrupt from this, which to me is unfortunate. Personally, I think that they should stop. They should be stopped by all means from doing this sort of thing, but you can have your own opinion on what you feel about that. So yeah, I guess that's their apology. They didn't apologize really for anything except for what they got caught for. They really just apologized for doing the show and not for any of the other crap they did. This apology kind of cements for me the malicious intent behind this. They are lying and clearly saying that they didn't know, when of course they did. And I think that just shows this church's and this production's true colors even more, which is quite unfortunate. Anyway, if you liked this video, thank you so much for watching. I will link to some other videos I've made. They're not video essays, but I do hope to make more video essays in the future. And yeah, subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.